Okay, this is the Free Math Tutor, and this Periscope broadcast is a math lesson that shows how to find the equation of a line that is parallel to a given horizontal line and that goes through a given point. This is a very commonly asked question in a lot of math courses, and the interesting thing about it is that it's a very easy question to answer without actually having to write anything down, do any calculations. Because this line is horizontal, I can tell because there is no x in the equation. If an equation only has y, it can be expressed in the form y equals constant. And any line that is parallel to that line has to also be a horizontal line and can be expressed with the same type of equation. Since we know it goes through this point, an acceptable equation for the line we're looking for would be y equals 3.1. We have our answer. The problem with that, of course, is that if you're doing this on a math test, you have to justify what you're doing. And there's more than one way to justify getting that answer, that equation. But what I consider to be the simplest way to justify that students are least likely to make a mistake with and least likely to lose marks on an exam is the one that I'm demonstrating right here. You have a little bit of writing to do, but it justifies your answer completely and you will get full marks. The first thing that I have to do is find the slope of the line that was given. Again, that's easy if you recognize that it's a horizontal line. Theory says if a line has no x in its equation, that means that its slope is 0. And 0 can be expressed as the fraction 0 over 1, which is what I want to do in this case. If I use the general form of the line, ax plus by plus c equals 0, the slope is given with this small formula, negative a over b. In this case, we get negative 0 over 4, and that, of course, equals 0, which means it is also equal to 0 over 1 in fraction form. If we use the y equals mx plus b standard form of the equation we're given through a transformation of algebra will end up being y equals negative 7/4, or you could write y equals 0x minus 7/4. And that means that the slope is 0 in y equals mx plus b form, or y equals ax plus b form, whatever you call it. The slope is 0, and again, we will express it as 0 over 1 in fraction form. That means I can plug the slope 0 over 1 into the slope formula, and I can put the point that I was given into this position. Negative 0.1 goes here, my x-coordinate, and 3.1 goes here, my y-coordinate. The next step is to do a cross multiplication. Bottom times top equals top times bottom. 1 times y minus 3.1 equals 0 times, and at this point I have this expression x minus negative 1. I don't want to write minus negative. Those cancel into a plus, so I will write in my bracket x plus 0.1. Of course, 0 times anything is 0, so this whole side cancels into a 0. And I have y minus 3.1 equals 0. At this point, I have correctly answered the question. This can be expressed in y equals mx plus b form as y equals 0, x plus 3.1, or just as y equals 3.1. If it's expressed this way, it's considered to be in the general form ax plus by plus c equals 0. If we wish, we can express it as 0x plus y minus 3.1 equals 0. There are several different ways of expressing the answer equation in a form that is acceptable, but this is one of them. And this is a form that comes naturally as a result of this way of showing the calculations. There's one thing missing from this question. I proved what the slope was of my original line, but I have not justified that I know this is also the same slope of the line that I am looking for. It is, because parallel lines always have the same slope. In order to justify this, you have to write some sort of a justification, and an easy one that my students find easy to remember is m1 equals 0. Line 1 is parallel to line 2. Therefore, m2, the slope of my second line, must also be equal to 0. This is a complete justification that allows the student to get full marks on the question. Now remember, I could answer this question without writing anything down, simply by realizing any line parallel to a horizontal line, and it is horizontal because there is no x in the equation, must also be horizontal, therefore can be written with the form y equals constant, and the constant has to be the y-coordinate of any point that that line goes through, so y equals 3.1 would be an acceptable answer to the question. The issue is, how do you justify what you're doing? If you say everything the way I just said it, it would be a complete justification, but most of my students find it difficult to express in words all of the concepts without forgetting something that's key. So my students prefer to do this method, which works with parallel, perpendicular, and oblique lines, that involves a cross multiplication, which most students find easy, and which also gives a complete answer that is correct so long as you remember to also justify your slope. Very important. This is the Free Math Tutor. Go to thefreemathtutor.com to watch this video and many others. Thank you.